Support for this podcast comes from St. Alphonsus Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Clinics, with physicians, physical therapists, and trainers who treat sports and performance-related injuries, with locations across the valley. More information on services and locations at stalphonsus.org/stayactive.
Congress is now deciding the future of funding for public radio and public television. Hello, this is Tom Michael, General Manager of Boise State Public Radio. This rescission request, or clawback of approved funding, passed through the U.S. House, and now it's before the U.S. Senate. This is the time to let your senator from Idaho know about your support of the news and music that public radio provides. Contact information at protectmypublicmedia.org.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho's daily news. Good morning, I'm James Dawson. Just ahead, a federal judge barred the Idaho Attorney General from filing criminal charges against doctors advising patients to seek out-of-state abortions. Immigration arrests by ICE are up across the country, especially in Idaho, and the state could increase a fee for fire prevention services as officials raise the national preparedness level. It's Friday, July 18th, and here are today's headlines. A federal judge has permanently banned Idaho from prosecuting physicians who refer patients to legal abortions out of state. Yesterday, Judge Lynn Windmill signed a consent decree barring Attorney General Raul Labrador from going after healthcare workers who share information with patients about out-of-state abortions. The ban applies to Ada and Valley County prosecutors as well. The decision was prompted by a lawsuit filed in 2023 by Planned Parenthood and two physicians who said they feared prosecution for out-of-state referrals. Under Idaho's abortion ban, providers who perform or assist with an abortion can face felony charges, lose their medical license, and receive up to 5 years in prison. The plaintiff cited a letter written by Labrador on official stationery where he explained that referring a patient across state lines to an abortion provider could be considered assisting in performing an abortion. Shortly after the letter was made public, Labrador retracted that interpretation. In addition to barring his office from prosecuting providers who share information about abortions with patients, the AG's office must pay $400,000 in legal fees. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, arrests in Idaho have increased sharply compared to last year. Julie Lucetta has more.
ICE numbers gathered by the Deportation Data Project at the University of California shows the immigration agency made more than 300 arrests in Idaho since January, up from 77 in 2024. The New York Times reports that represents the largest increase of any state in the country. Talia Burnett is an immigration lawyer in Nampa.
ICE has lost their discretion and ability to issue bonds, which means everybody that gets arrested is going to be held and transferred.
Burnett says a lot of her clients fear being held in detention indefinitely or sent to a country they've never been to.
I have a lot of clients that are just giving up and taking a voluntary departure or a self-deportation and not fighting.
In June, Governor Brad Little called the presence of undocumented migrants a, quote, public safety emergency, and announced the Idaho State Police had agreed to help ICE transport detainees from Idaho jails to immigration detention facilities. Julie Luqueta, Boise State Public Radio News.
Moscow police say they will be releasing all files they legally are allowed to related to the murder of 4 University of Idaho students 2 years ago. The documents, which will be available for free, won't be uploaded online until attorneys perform a legal review, as well as after Brian Koberger is sentenced in Boise next week. 4th District Court Judge Stephen Hippler also lifted a gag order yesterday that barred law enforcement, witnesses, and attorneys from speaking publicly of the murders. Earlier this month, Koberger pleaded guilty to murdering Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Madison Mogan in November 2023. He faces up to life in prison. tens of thousands of people who own homes in Idaho's forest land could have to pony up more cash for fire prevention services provided by the state. State land commissioners signed off on the proposal this week, which could raise the fee from $40 up to $100. Bill Hagginson, a deputy director for the Department of Lands, says revenue from this surcharge hasn't increased since 2009, but costs have grown.
You could see a downtrend in our fire deficiency fund based on increasing expenditures and revenue not keeping pace with that.
He says that's especially true for people living on the edge of cities and other entryways into Idaho's vast wildlands. If approved by the legislature, the fee hike could take effect for more than 67,000 parcels and raise up to $4 million. Speaking of wildfires, as they rage across the country, federal wildfire officials recently raised the national preparedness level to 4. If things get more intense, that could mean calling on the military and other countries for help. The Mountain West News Bureau's Murphy Woodhouse has more.
The National Preparedness Level, or PL system, is a 1 to 5 scale that indicates how busy a season is. When determining the PL, officials consider fuel and weather conditions, current fire activity, and the availability of resources to respond.
When we reach preparedness level 3, we usually have several geographic areas that are competing for resources, and we're usually able to meet most of those resource needs nationally.
That's Sean Peterson, the manager of the National Interagency Coordination Center in Boise.
We're at PL4 right now because our national resources are heavily committed, including our hotshot crews, our air tankers, our helicopters, and those types of resources. And our resources are starting to get stretched thin.
At PL5, which was reached July 18th last year, things get a bit more intense. That's when active military can be brought in to assist, along with firefighters from Canada and other international partners. Peterson says nearly 200 soldiers are training at Fort Carson in Colorado in case they are needed. Forecasters expect the season to be heavy through September. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Murphy Woodhouse.
And that'll do it for today's episode of The Connector. I'm James Dawson, and we'll see you back here Monday. To stay in touch with the news between now and then, check out BoiseStatePublicRadio.org, or you can download the free Boise State Public Radio app. Thanks for listening.
These days, there's so much news, it can be hard to keep up with what it all means for you, your family, and your community. The Consider This podcast from NPR features our award-winning journalism. 6 days a week, we bring you a deep dive on a news story and provide the context and analysis that helps you make sense of the news. We get behind the headlines. We get to the truth. Listen to the Consider This podcast from NPR.